Hey guys, I'm Jess, and today we're going to talk about all of the crochet methods in this video that you need to know about. Crochet has evolved a lot over the years, and I'm going to show you guys all the cool things that people do these days. First one that we have is one of my favorites. It's called corner to corner crochet or C to C. And because they made a picture out of something with it, they call it like a graphghan because they kind of like graph it out. So, how you do this is you work diagonally, making like pixel blocks, and you can design this yourself by like pixelizing a photo or pixelating, however you say that, a photo that you have so it looks like a bunch of blocks, and then you just crochet that corner to corner. It's really cool and it works up really fast. This is another picture of it, and I think it's really fun. Now, whenever you like work with several different colors, you can have a lot going on, like with all your different colors of yarn. So there's a lot of cool people out there who like show how they keep their yarn organized, like in different balls as they crochet. Another popular crochet method that came out about 10 years ago, so like around 2015, is the Bobble graphghans. So this is another way to like play with texture in your crochet and make a picture out of something. So this is just doing single crochets in a square, and then you do bobble stitches where you want the shape to take form. And you can also design this yourself using certain software. Oh, then we have Bavarian crochet. So I have made a blanket like this before for a baby. This is gorgeous. This is supposed to mimic stained glass, like a stained glass window. I think that was like the original idea. And it is really gorgeous. Like no matter what color you go with, it's beautiful. So try it out. Then we have granny squares. You gotta love a granny square. So this looks just like something I like grew up with in my grandparents' house. Granny squares was a big deal back in the 70s, and people made like everything out of granny square. And there's lots of different ways you can do granny squares. Like that's a simple one. Here's another one that's like different color. You can also do like sunflowers or make like the center pop out and do flowers, like starting circular and then turning it into square. And here's the next picture. You can see how there's like a 3D thing going on. I like to do both. Doing like granny squares where it's just all square from the very get go is easier than if you were to do the circle and turn it into a square. Then we have the granny stripe. So it's the same concept of a granny square, but you're going back and forth in rows. This was one of the first things I learned to make when I was 7 years old. Mochila bags. Oh, yeah. This is a serious work of art. I think this originates from Colombia, and you're doing a lot of carrying along the threads as you go. There is a name for that, tapestry crochet, where you're carrying along the threads as you go. And I think some people even will crochet around like a small type of cord to make it extra stiff. I've seen that happen before. Anyway, these are beautiful, beautiful works of art. And here's an example of a normal tapestry crochet method where you're not cutting threads, you're just crocheting over the other color and you're carrying it along as you go. And that's a way to make a picture out of something. Look at this blanket. Oh my gosh. This was a lot of colors going on here. Look at all the balls of yarn they have. Now, whenever you work on this type of stuff like tapestry crochet, you have to sit at a table. You can't really carry it around with you in the house. Like you can't sit on the couch and take it in the car on a car trip. Like it's one of those projects where you got to be having like a section in your house where you're working on that and it stays there. Here we have broomstick crochet. This is like an easier method of lace making. So it's like basically for people who want a lace looking effect, but they don't want to take the time to make lace. So originally lace was made by hand, by the way, guys. It was not made by machines. I'm not crazy about it at all. In fact, I don't know anyone who crochets this stuff, but maybe there's somebody out there. Next, we have zigzag chevron crochet. This is also something I grew up with my whole life with my grandparents' house. They had like millions of these zigzag blankets, and they're extra extra warm and they become heavy because if you work in single crochet zigzags, like it makes it thicker. Um, it's not really a crochet method. It's really just how you're doing the stitches and then you're counting in skipping stitches. So it's a good thing to learn. All right, amigurumi. Who doesn't love amigurumi? Amigurumi is a Japanese method, and it actually means little creature in Japanese. Japanese are obsessed with little creatures in their culture. And so, of course, they came up with this, and I just love it to death. Whenever you make amigurumi, you stuff it with cotton and then you sew the back and you attach like eyes and stuff like that. So, super fun. Then we have surface crochet. This is just where you take, you kind of slip stitch on top of a piece of work you've already done, or you don't have to slip stitch necessarily. You can also do other kind of stitches. It adds a 3D effect, and it's great if you want to like spell somebody's name on a Christmas stocking. Very, very cute. Then we have Tunisian crochet. Tunisian crochet is a very unique kind of crochet. It's where you're using those like really long, have you ever seen those super long crochet hooks in the store, or even the ones that are like double sided, like one hook on one side and on the other side, or they have like a plastic string on the end? Yeah, that's a Tunisian hook. And basically, you're like working, it kind of replicates knitting, but it's not. What's unique about Tunisian crochet is you're working on the front side of your work the whole project. You're not flipping and working on the back side and the front side. The long hook allows you to go backwards and forwards and backwards on the same side of the work. So it's pretty cool. Oh, then we've got rag rug crochet. This is like an old school thing of poverty. Okay. So people may have not had the money to buy yarn, and they didn't want to go out and spend money to buy things, right? So they made it with sheets or rags, and they would just rip them apart, old sheets, and they would turn it into yarn, like this yarn ball. And then they would make a rug out of it. And they would either just, do it with like single crochet or double crochet stitches or whatever, going back and forth or in a circle, or they would crochet over a cord and make a rug. And so it's very recycled and frugal, and I really like it. And this was actually my inspiration for most of my designs. This whole rag rug technique in crochet was what got me into t-shirt yarn and why I love crocheting with t-shirt yarn so much. So rag rugs and that whole concept kind of evolved into using t-shirt yarn. And here's a picture of one of my t-shirt yarn makes. And so it's kind of like t-shirt yarn now is kind of made into smooth um, strands of yarn. And so it's not so rough, like you don't see frilly, strings coming out all over the place like you would with a rag rug, or if you were to make your own t-shirt yarn using like sheets, it would be very frilly, and it would have you would have strings kind of coming out. If you like that effect, great, but not everyone does. So a cleaner look is using t-shirt yarn, and I kind of made mine into a tapestry crochet mosaic Moses basket, and I kind of combined several methods for this one here. This is more of like an advanced pattern because you have to know already how to do several things at one time. Irish lace is basically where people would crochet small little tiny motifs, and they would attach it to mesh to make it look like lace. So that's kind of how they made lace. And this is how they would make like wedding dresses, and why wedding dresses were so expensive. Absolutely tedious and but very gratifying. Really, really gorgeous. And then there's the Italian version of that, which comes from a long time ago from an island called Burano. And this is a picture of a lady who's making lace on a pillow. And this still happens today. Believe me, because I live in Italy and I've been to Burano many times and I've seen this. The difference here is that she's making the mesh and the lace to get all together. She's doing it all in one piece, versus Irish lace is where they already kind of have the mesh and then they attach things. But I'm sure there's different variations of all that. But overall, it's just kind of like using string. It's extremely small. There's a bunch of little needles, and they move the needles on the cushion, and it's cute. Oh, interlocking crochet, one of my favorites. This is if you love texture and you love playing with colors. I've made pot holders similar to this, but like in a zigzag pattern, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And it makes your work kind of like double sided, like really thick. So it's like just you can feel how the texture, you can feel the thickness. I would say this is an advanced method. You got to really be playing around with your colors the whole time. All right, freeform crochet. I just feel like this is god awfully ugly for the most part. I've never really seen freeform crochet to be beautiful except for when they do stuff for museums. Like sometimes they have to crochet and replicate things and give it to museums because they can't like physically make it any other way. I've heard of that before. This is pretty ugly, but then this next picture, this is pretty gorgeous. So I guess it just depends on the material you use and how you freeform it. this is this is just like high fashion for me. So freeform crochet is when you're not following a pattern, you're not following anything. You're just kind of free forming it, freehanding it or whatever. And you're combining colors and textures and, um, letting your creative spirit fly, which is interesting. And we have mosaic crochet. This is kind of like tapestry crochet, pretty much. It's just that it looks a lot like mosaic. Very pretty and tedious. Ooh, micro crochet. This is a fad. And people who have really good eyesight can definitely make some micro things. It kind of falls into like the Barbie category of where people crochet things for Barbie houses, like little blankets and little cushions and purses for the Barbies. It's almost kind of like that, but this is for real. This is some intense stuff right here. And the last one is filet crochet. So filet crochet mimics lace and you basically like create a grid with double crochets across but also make different stitches along the way. So it's kind of like making mesh and then making your, lace looking items. And this is like the stuff that I would see in magazines 20 years ago or 25 years ago when I was little. A lot of the stuff back then was like this. It was a lot of lace making, doily making, um, very small hooks and fine crochet yarn. And today it's gotten bigger and bigger. They also have like giant crochet and hand knitting. I'm not a fan of giant hand knitting, and let me tell you why. First of all, it's extremely expensive to buy enough just to make a blanket, and you're not buying spun wool, you're buying like roving. So it's pure wool, it's going to fall to pieces and you can't wash it. And if you do wash it, it's going to become matted. It's a cute thing to do if you're running like a workshop and you want to teach kids how to crochet. You can start with their fingers and their arms, and that's the concept of using a hook, but it's not the same thing as crocheting. I'm sorry. I'm just going to say that I run workshops for beginners and I have never chosen to do this because I feel like if you're going to learn how to crochet, you need to really learn how to use a hook and normal yarn and make something. This is just not much effort. In order for the big chunky blanket to look beautiful like that, you have to buy pure wool. And pure wool comes at a really high cost. Then you have to find a company that actually does that. And then it's got to be like ethical, like, So let me tell you, I have been on the sheep fields, okay, in Italy, and sheep have to get their coat of wool off. They have to every year. It's a relief to them. They need to get it all off. So, but it's extremely expensive. Like wool comes at a cost. It's a living, real microorganism. And so then, they kind of process that and wash it and they turn it into this, which is like roving, and they sell them in these huge skeins. But it costs an arm and a leg. Like you are not going to want to buy $500 worth of pure wool to make a throw blanket. I mean, that you can't even wash. And if you spill coffee on it, you are screwed and you just wasted 500 bucks. So I am totally against this type of stuff. And I don't like to buy the fake stuff in the stores because it's all plastic. So it's just for me, it's just bad. Like as a lifetime crocheter, I'm against this stuff. I don't teach workshops using this stuff. I teach people how to crochet for real using real normal size yarn and hooks because it takes a lot more skill. This doesn't take much skill. So that's my thoughts about it.